Hi everyone, how are we?
Hello. 1 second.
Yeah,
Continue. John, are you recording this?
I am recording it. We're a couple of minutes early.
Okay, cool. I thought I was gonna ask if we could record it, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'm recording it and then I'm actually going to try and separate out all of the different presentations so that we've
Okay.
got separate movie files.
Okay, the whole team is here.
Have I got my panel? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Michael, Catherine, Rosario, Manolo, and Tim. Yep, and you guys are all here. So as soon as you're ready, just go ahead. At the end of as soon as you've done with your slide deck, can you please stop screen sharing and we'll take questions. So you have 20 minutes to present and then 10 minutes for Q&A. Okay?
Okay.
Over to you.
I just wanted to quickly apologize if my background is super laggy. My laptop doesn't like support virtual backgrounds. Okay. So hello, thank you all for being here today. I'm excited to share the campaign that my team has created for our client. But before there we go, okay. But before we dive deep into it, I just wanted to ask everyone just a question. But when we see the hashtag fashion, we think about current clothing trends. When we see the hashtag food porn, we think of our favorite dishes. But when we see the hashtag restaurant reform, what comes to mind? Because for us, it's about making a real change in the way that we work. My name is Jocelyn Reyes. I am the account manager for Protea Agency, along with my account planner, Carolina Zepeda, and my creative team, Christian Parida and Aaron Cruz. Our agency is managing our client, A Slice of New York, which essentially strives to create an equal functional workplace through a worker-owned business model, thus bringing us to our campaign concept, restaurant reform. The message behind the idea of restaurant reform essentially is to join a co-op to make a real change in your own workplace. So as a collective, employees will take matters into their own hands, because working for ASONY it's so much more than pizza. It's restaurant reform. It's bigger than empowerment. It's bigger than unity. It's bigger than skill building, and this needs to be heard. A common trend amongst the food industry jobs are that a lot of the work isn't purposeful. It's almost demeaning. And what ASONY wants to do is they want to bring in the right people who want to take part in the management side to create an ideal and impactful workplace for all. So in light of bringing attention to their cooperative model, they hope to raise awareness on co-ops overall. Going off of that, job seekers unfortunately don't see past working at a pizza shop. They think minimum wage jobs with minimal management and poor conditions. As I mentioned earlier, many employees within the food industry sector aren't happy with their jobs. They find that the work environment isn't ideal or suitable for their needs. And for some businesses, this isn't always the case. For businesses like ASONY, they hope to provide real world opportunities for them. They aim to kind of change that perception of blue collar jobs. And to do this, they want to build a bigger pool of applicants who are interested in taking part of their co-op model, while in turn raising awareness on this type of business practice. Now, before we dive deeper into our proposal, let's just take a quick step back, because I'm sure the idea of restaurant reform kind of raises some questions. So ASONY first opened their shop in 2006 through owner Kirk Barshin's vision of wanting to own his own pizza slice shop, reminding him of home. So the shop opened in 2006. Popularity grew amongst locals and the greater community. And with demand growing high, they felt that it was in their best interest to open a second shop here in Sunnyvale. And that opened in 2011, creating a bigger environment to hold bigger crowds, families. They have more offerings such as beer. And 6 years after that, they converted into a co-op model, making them the first retail co-op in the South Bay. And by now, I know I've mentioned business model many times, and you're still wondering, what's a co-op? A cooperative is basically a worker-owned business. As a collective, every co-op participates in every business decision, and as part of a co-op, you have a voice and you have a purpose. And like pizza slices, everyone is offered an equal slice of the business. So I'm going to turn it over now to Carolina as she gives you a slice of our client overview.
A slice of New York's co-op business model puts it in a particular place in the market. Amongst its competitors that also deliver New York-style pizza, A Slice of New York is unique in that it has a very loyal clientele, as shown through their following base on their Instagram and Facebook, as well as their Yelp reviews that rank them the highest out of their surrounding competitors. This is due to, of course, their famously authentic New York-style pizzas, as well as their restaurant transparency. As soon as you walk into their shops, you'll see that they have a wall of shame. This is where they post pictures and anecdotes of rude customers to show everyone that they won't allow for the mistreatment of their employees. And you might even encounter an employee properly standing up for themselves when they're talking with a rude customer. In our conversations with our point of contact at ASONY, we learned that this unsettles a few customers because it's expected that workers in food service have to forcibly abide to the corporate franchise motto that the customer is always right. But what ASONY has done is given a voice and operational control to its employees through this co-op model. And this model that gives employees democratic control, education and training, and a sense of unity, that attracts specific groups of people. Our primary target audience are job seekers that are in the 25 to 34-year-old range, and our secondary target audience are those in the ages of 18 to 24 years old. The reason being is that this is a sustainable form of business that needs younger people to bring in new and innovative ideas to improve the business practices. The people that make up the co-op sector altogether are mostly women, people of color, predominantly Latinos, and blue-collar workers. These are the people that they take pride on doing practical work. They like being a part of a collective unit, and many of them desire to run their own business or at least know what it's like to run a business, but they don't have the startup capital to do so. In terms of their psychographics, these are experiencers. They're the ones that are unconventional. They like things that are offbeat and risky, but also a great deal of our target are makers. These are the people that are hyper committed, they like hands-on work, and these are the people that oftentimes join unions because they're very distrustful of big business. And so these people all together are the ones that are the most attracted to the benefits of being in a co-op. It's also very important to note that most people in recent times are joining more co-ops in response to the economic stressors that we're in right now. People don't feel secure in their jobs anymore, especially if they're working in minimum wage restaurant jobs, and having ownership of something gives them that security. And in order to provide them that security, we need to solve the business problem at hand that we have, which is that essentially job seekers associate working at a pizza parlor with the age-old bureaucratic food retail experience that doesn't provide them a future, and they also aren't aware of the benefits of working at a co-op. So our positioning for this campaign will be that working for a co-op like A Slice of New York gives you a voice and a purpose, as opposed to other more traditional, more outdated forms of business models. And that brings us back to our idea that we are restaurant reform.
So through our research, a couple of things we found is that co-op members really value having strong input in their work. They also see themselves as a unit, as a group, and they also desire and have the really passionate desire to learn and train in new business functions. So through this campaign, we really just want to draw more attention to ASONY's co-op model, while also informing the public through the use of educational graphics and the upbeat, urban, and loud tone of our advertising. So this tone was achieved by kind of breaking down what the quintessential New York lifestyle represents, which is anywhere from the busy life to the crowded sidewalks and even the great food. So in the early stages of developing our creative solutions, our team created the mood board. And this was kind of just there to help get our ideas out and get things rolling. and help us pinpoint what we think can really represent New York authentically. So some things that we found is that we were really drawn to the street art style that is really prominent throughout the city, as well as the subway system that literally links the entire city together. So like I mentioned earlier, we want to utilize educational graphics, and that's going to be in the form of a retractable banner. So on the banner, the headline reads, "Lead, don't follow." And we think that this represents ASONY really well because they give their employees a sense of empowerment and not really just another job at a pizza shop. Something that's really great about having the retractable banner is how small and mobile it is. It's really practical and multifunctional, as in the information can be moved to different places. So with that, the banner can be moved inside or outside the shop, where it can be visible to people that are waiting in line or eating their food, as well as in different settings such as being on display at a job fair or hiring event of sorts. And also included on the bottom right-hand side of the banner is going to be a QR code, which people can scan. And that's basically just going to lead them to another web page where they can get more information about co-ops in general and even apply for a job directly if available. So taking a similar yet simplified approach to the out-of-home transit advertisements, we wanted to use the same subway theme to stay consistent throughout our entire campaign. This one having a different headline reading, "It's more than just pizza." And this kind of just leaves the viewer with a curiosity that can help draw them to learning more information. And something that's consistent throughout all forms of our advertisements is actually the inclusion of the hashtag at the bottom saying #restaurant reform. And by utilizing this, all posts on social media related to the campaign will be linked to that hashtag. And the cool thing about this is that it creates an even bigger pool of information for people to check out and learn more about co-ops. This also creates future opportunities for new businesses to jump in later on and even share their own unique co-op stories as well. So alongside this design, we also have a second variation that makes it look like "Join a Co-op" was spray painted on top of the ad. So kind of going back to how we thought that street art and graffiti is a really big part of New York culture, we decided to spray paint the headline on top of the original ad to make a bold statement. And with a campaign revolving around reform, we needed a way to be loud. And that really coincides with ASONY's need to break into the public eye and show how co-ops will create change. And although it might seem like it was vandalized, like the ad was vandalized, it almost reflects the rebellious nature of our campaign. The idea that we want to make a change and we want to stand up for what we know can create a better future for small businesses. And lastly, we have a few different sticker designs as well to go hand in hand with the advertising. These are important because it really ties everything together and can even bring more visibility to the business itself. As many people like to put stickers now on things that they use every day, such as water bottles, skateboards, and laptops even.
So aside from print, we also want to implement social media strategies. We're going to be doing this through paid ads, posts, and stories. We primarily want to focus on using platforms Instagram and Facebook. We want to use these two platforms because they are the most used by our target audience. We also want to use these platforms because it's easy to promote ads based on demographics, which would make it easier for us to target the right audience. As you can see, the ads themselves are very similar to our print advertising. We still have the same copy going on. We also want to continue to educate the user about some of the benefits of a co-op. And on this instant, we're adding a link to a lot of the paid ads, posts, and stories that we're going to be creating. So that link is going to be for a web page. So essentially, we want the user to go from their social media platform and into this web page. In this web page, the user is able to apply for jobs. They're also able to look at job listings posted by ASONY, and they are also able to learn more about how ASONY is reforming the restaurant business through its cooperative model. I want to talk to you guys more about the budget. So ASONY itself is a restaurant that's always looking to be cost effective. That's definitely something that we consider when we created our campaign and came up with our grand total. So for the running length of 6 months with 2 different phases, each during 2 different peak months, the grand total came out to $1,672. So even though this price might seem a little costly for a restaurant like ASONY, it is still very cost effective because the numbers that we're displaying, we made sure that we would be able to hit the right target audience. So for example, through our research, we were able to find out that we can place a bus shelter ad in East San Jose in an area where a large portion of the population is our target audience. So therefore, we're making sure that our ads are being shown to the right people and not being shown to anybody who might not be interested in joining a cooperative. Our campaign is also bringing awareness to ASONY, not only as a brand, but as a cooperative. And it's reinforcing the idea that ASONY itself is a company who cares about their employees and the community that surrounds them.
So by now we've presented a lot of information. Thank you for making it this far with us. Just to briefly recap, our campaign essentially hopes to enhance the job outlook for worker cooperatives within the food and retail industry, and to highlight the benefits of what it's like to work for a worker cooperative. And to do this again, we are going to target blue-collar workers, people of color, and specifically women through strategic placements of ads in their respective locations. This will be effective. This will exceed expectations. Overall, the big idea of creating restaurant reform will be to gain acceptance and for people to become aware of what a co-op is, and essentially for creating sustainable and self-fulfilling jobs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, team. If you can stop sharing, which you have, it's great. We'll open the floor up for questions. Good job, by the way.
Thank you.
I'll start it off, and well done in your presentation. Did you share your campaign thoughts with this client? And I'd love to hear what their reaction was.
Let me think about that. So from what I remember, we did share a couple of our initial thinking with them, and they felt that we were very transparent with them and that what we were trying to do in the making of this campaign really reflected well with what they're trying to do. We didn't run the whole big idea of restaurant reform. Initially, it is more than pizza. So we just felt that restaurant reform went really well to go hand in hand with what they're doing, because essentially what they're doing is much more than pizza. Their small business offers a lot, and it's more than pizza is what we're trying to say.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
This seemed like a really tough assignment, to be honest with you. You're doing restaurant reform, and yet you are trying to use, I guess, New York pizza to demonstrate what this was doing. And frankly, I got a little bit confused. At first, I thought we were selling a slice of pizza, New York pizza. And then I see that it's really more about restaurant reform and, quote, joining a co-op. But I got to tell you, this seems like it's really tough, this whole idea of restaurant reform.
Yeah, that's exactly how we felt when we were given this brief. I remember when Michael came in talking to us more about the brief, Carolina, my account planner, specifically asked, well, what do we do? Because it seems that our client has two specific objectives. Like, is that two different campaigns? Like, what do we do? And we found that our client valued their business more than increasing their customer base. They were looking for the right people, not just to take over their business, but to be a part of the business to help run it, because they don't want someone to just take it. They want to keep it run the way that it is. And so we're trying to help them do that. Carolina, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think just initially going into this, it was a bit tricky because they were very clear that their priority and their goal wasn't to get more customers. And that's the way that we've been learning how to, approach campaigns, is to like, okay, that's how we measure the success of the campaign, is measuring the sales or the amount of customers that you get. But they really just wanted to recruit not just employees for them, but they also just wanted to raise awareness for co-ops overall. Like they didn't have this competitive mindset of like, oh, like we're the best, we are the best co-op, you should only join us. But they really just wanted to kind of let the Bay Area community know about the sustainable form of business, because they are very active, like politically. They go to town hall meetings to do like presentations in order to get specific, policy reform. So it was more of like this sort of like social justice, more community work objective for them, rather than this business, like we want more money, more profit. And so that kind of was a challenge in itself of trying to find out, well, how can we measure raising awareness? Because something that we've gotten from, being in Tim's class is you can't measure the awareness that you raise. That's not something that's measurable. So putting in these social media campaigns of like, okay, we can measure the cost per click. We can measure, how oftentimes they go to the link to, look for jobs. So that can be something that will be more measurable. So we're glad that, we were able to find, a way to kind of measure the success of this campaign. And we're just proud of ourselves overall for being able to differentiate between these two sort of objectives that they had.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question for you guys. Did you ever consider also when people click on the QR code, providing the clicker with more information on other successful restaurant co-ops, like the Cheese Board, for example, in Berkeley is one of the most famous, co-ops in the United States, and does make, I think, the best pizza besides New York pizza. So I'm just wondering if that crossed your mind, just because the client's objective was not necessarily to build their own business, but to build awareness about the co-op business model.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually one of our late night conversations. Actually, when we were talking about the QR code, we were wondering, well, what is that actually going to direct what is that going to direct people to? Is it going to direct people towards an actual application, to their homepage, to what is it, FAQs, like frequently asked questions? Yeah, so we took a look at their website, we evaluated it. The way that it is that it's almost updated as if they're updating news regarding co-ops. Like, I don't know how to like word it, but it's very informational the way that it is. So our QR code will essentially link to their homepage, where you see all of these links to their application, to FAQs, to more history, to more updates on co-ops, what's happening in the Bay Area. And like Carolina said earlier in regards to Tim's question, like they're very active in the community, and they're very good at updating their social media platforms with that, to kind of share that with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Erin talked about this a little bit, but for the purpose of putting restaurant reform in the advertisements would be kind of like a gateway for people to click on, to go to that hashtag on Instagram or Facebook, and then see that kind of plethora of like posts of other businesses. So it wouldn't just be ASONY. So it's kind of like, apart from the QR code, there is that kind of more holistic hashtag that would bring other co-op businesses in the area together.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as Tim said, it's a tough concept, but very interesting. I think that the strategy that you guys create to bring the audience that you're looking for, I think is good. And I think that this is going to be, like everybody say, the new normal. So a lot of people's going to start changing towards the concept of co-op.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, team. We'll move on. We'll go on to the next one. We're a little bit ahead of ourselves, which is good, actually. It'll give us more time for deliberation at the end. You guys stay in this room. Don't go anywhere. And we'll fetch you at 11:45 or maybe just before. Okay? So good job. I'll start moving folks over to the final pitch now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi.